Hello, beloved Youest You listeners. I am so grateful, so honored you're here. I know there's a lot of podcasts and opportunities to listen to many things, and you are going to want to spend some time right now carving out a moment or two, a space to be present and to listen. I am so excited about the guest that has graced all of us today. Cannot wait to tell you about Robert Moss and have you meet him. And I believe the topics that we're going to be talking about are very pertinent and very helpful for these interesting, crazy times. So let me tell you about Robert Moss. Robert Moss has been a dream traveler since doctors pronounced him clinically dead in a hospital in Hobart, Tasmania, when he was 3 years old. From his experience in many worlds, he created his School of Active Dreaming, his original synthesis of modern dreamwork and ancient shamanic and mystical practices for journeying in realms beyond the physical and growing creative imagination. He has led popular workshops all over the world, including a 3-year training for teachers of active dreaming and online courses for the Shift Network. A former lecturer in ancient history at the Australian National University, he is a New York Times bestselling novelist, poet, journalist, and independent scholar. He has many books on dreaming, shamanism, and imagination, including Conscious Dreaming, The Secret History of Dreaming, Dreaming the Soul Back Home, The Boy Who Died and Came Back, Sidewalk Oracles, and Mysterious Realities. His latest book, which we are going to dive into, is Growing Big Dreams, Manifesting Your Heart's Desires Through 12 Secrets of the Imagination. And it is a passionate and practical call to step through the gates of dreams and imagination to survive hard times, travel without leaving home, and grow the vision of a more abundant life, so rich and strong that it wants to take root in the world. He has lived in upstate New York since he received a message from a red-tailed hawk under an old white oak. His website is mossdreams.com. Oh my gosh, Robert, it's such an honor. I love your work and I feel like I have so many questions. So let's get started and just thank you for saying yes and being here today.
Well, it's good to be dreaming with you, Julie. Thanks for that warm and generous introduction. I'm looking forward to having some fun.
Excellent. So I have to ask, before we even, this book you wrote is so pertinent. Before we go into that, I really am curious, and I know anyone that's listening is like, please tell us about your near-death experience, what that was like. If you're okay starting there, I think it's something that many of us have thought about, like, what is that like? What worlds did you see? What did that open up for you? If you don't mind, could we start there?
Oh, I'm happy. It's a bit of a story, but you like stories. So
Yeah.
when I was 3 years old, my mother said, let's go to West Australia. We're living on the east side of the continent of Australia to meet her Irish family, who she loved but didn't see. So we get on trains. It's a forever trip. We're now in the home of her aunt, who's a famous opera singer, Dame Nellie Melba's friend and understudy, coloratura soprano, can do all those vocal effects, and also a very effective and discreet psychic medium. So Auntie Dick, as we called her, is going to read the tea leaves the old-fashioned way for me. She turns white, she leaves the room, she won't speak. She sees my death, and I'm 3 years old. She doesn't tell us until later. She was accurate. In a hospital that winter, I died of pneumonia. I was pronounced clinically dead. When I came back, the doctor said, somewhat embarrassed, oh, your boy died and he came back, didn't he? So that's where it begins. And I can't tell you what happened when I was out of the body age 3. I do know it was awfully hard to stay in the body for the following years because I felt like an alien. I felt I'd dropped out of the sky. At 9 years old, something else happened. I have an emergency appendectomy, and in the operating room, I have what sounds like a typical near-death experience. I'm up onto the ceiling, I'm watching the surgery, I don't want to stay around. I leave the operating room, don't stay with my mother who's grieving. I look out the window, it's a bright sunny day. I want to do what a red-blooded Australian 9-year-old would do, go down the beach. Go to Luna Park, the theme park, down the beach. So I go through the window, I've forgotten I've got a body in the operating room. I go down to Luna Park. The gate of the theme park is a big moon face with an open mouth. I go through the open mouth of the moon, and suddenly I'm in a different world. And I'm amongst beautiful, elongated people who are teachers and healers, and they receive me as one of their own, and they raise me. And Julie, I seem to live a whole life with these people. And it's a great life, father, grandfather, teacher, shaman, something or other. enough of that life. I'm about, I think, to go to my home star, and suddenly, whoopsie, I'm back in the body of a 9-year-old in an operating room in a Melbourne hospital. And I remember. Now, this wasn't an easy situation. You know, it's a conservative time in Australia. I'm in a military family. They're good people. They want to support me, but they can't understand this kind of thing. Yeah. First person I met who could sort of understand this to explain it to me was an Aboriginal kid from the Indigenous culture. He was very matter of fact. Oh, yeah, we do that. We get sick. We live with the spirits, don't we? We come back. We're sometimes the same, we're sometimes not. Anyway, keeping that story as short as I can, the gift in the wound, because it is a gift in the wound. We all need to be conscious of this right now. What is the gift in the challenge? We're suffering so many challenges, so many setbacks, so many disappointments. Where can we find a blessing? The blessing, as I look over my life, became very good at shifting consciousness and entering different realities, different worlds. I could see into the future. I could see across time. I could talk to the departed, and that didn't seem odd to me. I go to realms that are real worlds and realms of the imagination known in different cultural traditions. So I've done that since I was a kid. So that was the foundation of my relationship with the dreaming. In midlife, very briefly, having done different things in my life, I had a sort of shamanic death. I sort of met indigenous people, indigenous to North America, and I was drawn into the dreaming of the Iroquoian people, Iroquoian woman shaman of a long time ago, and eventually these experiences shook me up so much, I decided I just got to live differently now. My whole order of value and importance has changed. I've got to figure out how I can teach other people to do the things that I do safely, to dream, to use the imagination without going through the extremity of a near-death experience or something like that. So I was shaken up in midlife to put myself on the path of a dream teacher, for which there's no career track in our culture. There might be eventually. I've trained hundreds of people now to teach what I teach. It might come eventually, and my goodness, we need it now. But anyway, so that's where I come from. I come from the dream world. It's my home base.
Wow. Okay. Well,
yeah. Starting point.
There's a good starting point. I mean, so wow. I think about this idea because I want to get into the dream world, and there's so many ways we can touch upon this. This is something I really want for anyone listening to learn how to do what you teach as best as we can do in this episode, because as you were saying, this is part of what's needed right now. This is really what's needed. Your story is incredible. And it's just, to me, I think of when before coming to Earth, and I don't know that this is right or wrong, but there's this feeling I've always had that we chose this divine contract, whatever that might be. And to just think, your experiences are really profound and deep. And I guess we could go into the other worlds. My brain is firing at all cylinders, and I'm like, I want to talk about the other worlds and the other dimensions. Maybe we come back to that, but let's get to the dream world, and how that relates to the book you just wrote, which is so needed right now.
Well, let me tell you a story about the genesis of the new book, which is about how practical this dream stuff can be for anybody, right? So at the end of last year, I was exhausted. I mean, I was traveling 6 months a year. Sometimes it took me 24 hours of hard travel to get to the mountains of Transylvania, literally, or somewhere else that I'm teaching, and then get back and then sleep for 2 hours and do a live class. So I was exhausted, pretty burnt out.
Yeah.
So I need a way of approaching the new book, and I've got an idea of what the new book will be. So I asked for a dream. And in my dream, I'm talking about Viktor Frankl. Remember Viktor Frankl, the Viennese psychiatrist who was sent to Auschwitz and wrote Man's Search for Meaning afterwards, and who described how, through his dreams and imagination, he survived this nightmare of history from the mid-20th century. He survived the Nazis. He's a skeleton, walking skeleton with a tattoo on his arm, who can be killed any moment. But he uses his imagination to grow a dream of life, which Hitler is a memory. All of that is gone. And he's giving a lecture on the psychology of the concentration camps to an audience in a lecture room. And none of this can happen, of course, but it does. He imagines it, and 1 year after the war, he's in that suit in front of that audience. So I'm dreaming that I'm telling a fresh version of Viktor Frankl's well-known story for the introduction to my new book. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, Robert, you've written about this before. Lots of people know the story. It's an important story. It's an essential story. It's also a very dark story. You're writing a book about manifesting your heart's desires. Do you want to start with Auschwitz? Yes, I did start with Auschwitz. I took Viktor Frankl's story, told it again a new way, and basically said to people who might be reading me, look, you've got it tough, we've got it tough, but let's remember, here's an example from history. We can get through. We can dream and imagine our way through the darkest times. If Viktor Frankl could get through Auschwitz, maybe we can get through too. Maybe this dreaming works. Maybe this imagination works. So I wrote that before the pandemic was upon us, and I didn't have to change a word. Because now you read it and you think, my God, this is the book for our times, because it says, this is how we get through the dark times. Use your dreams, use your imagination. So that's a bit of a plug for my new book, which I don't mind plugging because I think it is the book for our moment. But it's also a very practical example of how dreams in a workaday way, because writing and teaching is my workaday way, how dreams could put us on the right track, give us the right material, the right focus, the right orientation. Let me just say to people, lots of people in our culture have been going through a dream drought, right? They haven't had a relationship with dreams for a long time, haven't made room for it, haven't made time for it. One of the few blessings of the pandemic is more people are making time for dreams now, maybe because they have more time, maybe because they're waking up to the fact we need sources and resources beyond the obvious. Our obvious tools, our obvious calculations have failed us completely. We've been living this collective nightmare. We need to dream our way through it, and we need to do that on many different levels. So part of the purpose of my book is what my teaching has been for some time, to say this is about survival. Pay attention. Dreaming is not just some, option for a free weekend or a free moment in the bathtub. It is a way of getting through. Dreaming will give you solutions, alternative scenarios when the obvious ones are not working. Dreaming will also, and I'm talking about not only sleep dreams, but your ability to shift your consciousness, go into a deeper state, a meditative state, a visionary state, a shamanic state, and contact sources and guides beyond the obvious. Dreaming will also put you in touch with the secret order of events, with your larger story, your bigger story. It can give you mythic power and mythic assistance in facing the up and down problems. So it's about all of that. But that's an example of how very specifically a dream of the night can give you the agenda for the day. And if you follow it, you might do better than you would have done, just relying upon your ordinary calculations.
I mean, to think, where you started not knowing this pandemic, and I love what you pointed out about Viktor Frankl. I've thought about that a lot with Nelson Mandela. Like if he could go through 27 plus years in jail, I mean, it's like Viktor Frankl to get through a concentration camp. How powerful is our imagination? How powerful?
Yes. Frankl's enduring lesson for us, and it's so important to read him and understand him. I reread Man's Search for Freedom every 4 years on average. He's done other books, but that is the book. There's a new collection of his essays recently. But one of the truths that he reminded us of is whatever our situation, we have one fundamental freedom. It is the freedom to choose our attitude. Yeah. And that can change everything. That is so simple and so potent. And it's the center of my own approach in the new book and in my own teaching. I say to people, look, pay attention. Your attitude in life goes ahead of you. It shapes the encounter you'll have around the next corner. It shapes the events that are preparing themselves for you. This is the real law of attraction. So pay attention to your attitude. Pay attention to your inner soundtrack. Don't just go with all those negative, bring yourself down kind of stuff that's often going on in your head. Look again. Don't do the sort of new age thing of saying, I'm master of the universe, everything is fine. But try and change the soundtrack in a better direction. And that really works. So we have so much to learn, and it's important that in times like these, we look to our right mentors, our right counselors. And that is one that I look to, because as I say, if you can survive Auschwitz through the power of your imagination, that says to all of us, hey, maybe we can do better too.
Yeah. Woo, it's so powerful. I'm thinking where to start, for those, because I can hear those that are like, okay, talk to me, tell me how to get in this dream state. How do I get in this shamanic state? Where are these dreams coming from? Maybe you can walk us through. I know there are 12 secrets. I don't know if we can get through all of them, but I know my beautiful listeners, I know you, I hear you, you're like, okay, how do we do this? Like, I can hear them asking. So, and I'm one of them. How do we do this? Where does that state originate?
I think it actually starts with regrowing or reopening your relationship with dreams in the simplest sense, your dreams of the night. I mean, sleep dreams are only one form of dreaming. I will say to people, whatever you think about dreams, dreaming is not only about going to sleep or what happens during sleep, it's about waking up. A dream might be a wake-up call. It can happen in your sleep. It can happen through synchronicity with something in the world around you. It speaks like a dream symbol. It can happen in a meditative state. It can happen in that drifty, floaty, in-between state between sleep and dreams. It can happen in a shamanic journey or meditation. But, we all want some kind of connection with the dreams of the night, the ones that we don't ask for and may not want, because they're holding up a mirror to our lives. One of the things that most humans have understood for most of human history is dreams do a number of things. And I'm talking now particularly about the night dream, the sleep dream. They put us in touch with a source of knowledge that is wiser than the everyday mind. Call that God or goddess, call that nature, call that the ancestors, call that the spirits, call that the bigger self. Dreams are a way of accessing a source of knowledge that knows more than we do. The dreams also rehearse us for the future. They show us challenges and opportunities that lie ahead, and they sometimes give us better options if we can clarify the information. And dreaming is central to healing and medicine in the sense that dreams diagnose what's going on in the body. They show us how we might get sick. They give us ways of avoiding getting sick. They give us imagery for self-healing when we are sick. And they show us, maybe most importantly, something about our soul, because dreams are language of the soul and experiences of the soul. Dreams might show us the secret wishes of the soul. That's a phrase I picked up from Iroquois and indigenous tradition, when a woman of power from long ago insisted on talking to me in her own language and teaching me what she knew about dreams. She taught me that a dream might contain ondinog, funny word. It means the secret wish of the soul, especially if revealed in dreams. And that something to know about dreams is they show you what you want on a deeper level than the ego or the everyday mind or the schedules and expectations you're trying to keep up with. They show you what your soul wants. And you want to honor that and enact that if you can. You want other people to gather around you and help you. So, you want to start by rebuilding your relationship with dreams. And if you've been in a dream drought for a long time, it's been an endemic. It's been a pandemic, a psychic pandemic in its own way for a long time in the West. If you haven't been in touch with your dreams, what do you do?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you very frankly, probably the most important thing you need to do is to try to remember the first dream or the last dream that you ever had. Maybe it's from 30 years ago, maybe it's from 40 years ago. And the funny thing about that is, when you put yourself in, it might have been a scary dream, might have been a nightmare, might have been something you ran away from as a kid. If you can just remember the last dream, even if it was 30 years ago, let's say, and put yourself in touch with that and start doing something about that, you might find you're opening a time tunnel, a magic time tunnel to your younger self, who is the dreamer of you. If you've lost your dreams, it might be because you've lost the beautiful, bright dreamer in yourself, in your soul, for whom all of this is important, but who went away because of what shamans call soul loss. The world got cold, the world got cruel. She didn't want to be around. She left, she checked out. She's not been with you. And when you lost her, you lost your dreams. So it might be as big and yet also in a way as simple as that. It might be about getting in touch with your child self. And if you can't do the exercise of remembering the dream, maybe you can remember something of your child self that she would consider fun and make some room for that in your life. Maybe it's eating a cupcake. Maybe it's having a teddy bear picnic. Maybe it's dancing in the rain. Maybe if you can find some way of connect, maybe it's just visualizing, hey, I know there's a magic place, maybe it's grandma's place. And my child self is there and she's waiting for me to get in touch. And I picture myself, skipping down the path to grandma's place. And if there's anything blocking it, I've got a magic broom, I'm going to sweep it clean. And now I'm back with my childhood self. We're going to be pals. And she's going to give me her gifts of imagination and dreaming. And I'm going to assure you'll make it through, honey. I can promise you'll make it through because I made it through. So it might be as big and also as simple as getting in touch with your magical child. That is the second secret of the imagination in my new book. Your great Imagineer, your master of imagination is your magical child. Bring her back and you'll do better. And then also all sorts of other tricks and games to get in touch with your dreams. But that is probably the heart of the matter. If you're missing your dreams, you're probably missing a good connection with that magical child of you. And when you come back, when she comes back and lives with you fully, you're going to have so much fun, so much energy, so much brightness. Can I tell you a story about this?
Oh,
I'm just
hoping you would. Please.
Okay, so this is pre-pandemic. I mean, I was teaching all over the world until March this year, but I taught a lot in France and I will again. So I'm teaching in southern France. And there's a woman there who's done all sorts of stuff. And she's a shamanic practitioner. She does yoga, she does kung fu, she does meditation. And she's really pissed, forgive my French, on the second morning of this residential retreat because I said, what's the matter with you? She said, you're all talking about dreams at the breakfast table and I don't remember my dreams. And she's really, really head up. I do all this, but I don't dream. I don't dream the way that you guys do. I said, I don't believe you. She's now really upset. Tell me the last dream you remember. So she says, okay. She pauses. Yes, okay. She calms down enough to say, yeah, was 30 years ago, she says. I was 9 years old, she says. So she's 39 now, she was 9 years old then. Okay, tell me the dream. Well, in the dream, she says, a hand comes from behind a curtain, and in the hand is the most delicious chocolate. And I love chocolate, and I want the chocolate. But my parents have said, don't take candy from strangers. So in the dream, she rushes away and she wakes up screaming, Mama and Papa, and their parents come and, oh, it's something to do with the dream. They say what all dumb parents say, it's just a dream, go back to sleep. So a good Catholic girl, scared of her dream, she prays to Jesus and Mary and all the saints, no more dreams, please. And her prayers are answered. For 30 years, she's remembered no dreams. Now we go shamanic. Very simple, but still deep shamanic. I say, okay, if I were you, I would try to dive back into this dream. We enter the scene and she starts trembling. She's really scared. You feel the energy, the force feel. I would go back inside the dream with the intention of opening the curtain and finding out what's going on. She knows about shamanic journey. We're going to use the drum. She's going to make a journey, but she's not happy. Will you come with me? I said, well, I could form smaller groups to support each other. I could be in your group, but you're going to do the work for yourself, you know. Okay. So I'm drumming, and her intention is to get back in the dream from 30 years ago, open the curtain and find out what's going on in the mystery of the dream. And she does this. She opens the curtain and there's an angelic being glowing with light. Oh, wow. And then the features stabilize. It's a man she loved. It's her father's best friend. He owned a toy shop in Paris. Nothing wrong going on there. He let her play in the toy shop. He was a family friend. She said, oh, it was you, Uncle, it was you. Why didn't you show yourself? He said, oh, Sherry, you forgot. I was killed in that car accident. My face was mutilated. I couldn't show myself to you because I didn't know how to fix my face. But I wanted to give you something sweet, so I did the best I could. And there are tears. She comes back from this, more tears. And, you know, that's interesting in itself. But then the follow-up is the real heart of the story. Next morning, we're at the breakfast table. It's a residential retreat. You know, the French are drinking coffee out of those huge bowls and eating their croissants and their pastries. And she says, she's really mad again because we are late coming down for breakfast. I've been waiting. I need to tell you my dreams. The woman with no dreams now has 8 dream reports to tell us, one after another, boom, 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 like a high-speed train. She got her dreams back because she got back the 9-year-old that was the dreamer, just like that. Wow. Now that involves some support in a community gathering where we played, you know, Dream Family for the person. But, you know, you really can do a lot of this for yourself. And I would also say this, if you're sort of getting back in touch with dreams again and all that they have an offer for you, there's one essential tool you're going to want to keep and maintain, and it's your journal. You're going to need to write something in your journal every day. You don't have a dream, write something down anyway. Not just about your dreams, it's a secret book of your soul and yourself. I absolutely regard keeping a journal as essential daily practice for life, whatever your main focus is. But if it comes to dream recall, getting in touch with dreaming, if you're writing something in your journal every day, a quote you picked up from a book, something you overheard from somebody talking too loud on their cell phone, something funny in the street, it could be anything. You're writing in a journal every day. In the sense, you're saying to your dream producers, whoever you think they might be, I'm here, I'm ready to listen, I'm ready to record, give me something, and it works.
Oh, this is so powerful. I love the story. And so it sounds like, first of all, the best place to start is really your dreams in the sleep world, and to start recording anything, and then to go and try to find the most recent or the last one you can remember, and then getting in touch with that child, that magical child self, can be a piece as well. I love what you just said about journaling. I'm ready to record and listen. You're really giving the universe the command. I love that, the producers, I love how you just said that. That's like, okay, bring it on, the showtime.
There are many kinds of dreams, but there are dreams which we begin to realize are theatrical productions. I mean, there's a group of producers making movies for us. I mean, this is not the only type of dream. In fact, I actually had a woman who was very upset because she kept having the same dream again and again. And some people watching us will recognize this situation, not too enthusiastic about your dreams, because the same thing again and again. In her case, she was a medical doctor. She was dreaming again and again that she had to take her medical exams again. And she's screaming, I got them, I did them, I don't need to do them again. And she's so agitated. I said, wait a minute, dear, I say to her, as gently as I can. As I listen to you, I'm thinking about your dream producers, the people who make these movies for you to see in the night. And they're getting so bored and fed up with having to retake the same scenes again and again because you are not getting the message or not taking action from it. What is the message? Well, if it's my dream, I'm thinking, what sense am I facing a new exam, a new test in life? And how do I need to be ready for it? Good God, she said, you really think it's like that? You really think there's a team of movie producers? Yes, I do. And as soon as she got that idea, she did the necessary things and it all came out straight. So it's very amusing to think about that. And then if you're interested in using your imagination, or remember Viktor Frankl, surviving Auschwitz through imagination, then you might think, okay, suppose I do have a sort of production company, dream imagination production company, a personal Disney studio behind the curtain of the world. Can I get into that? Can I not just watch the productions? Can I get in on that and become scriptwriter, director, producer, star of my own life movies? So that also is what the new book is about. That's what Growing Big Dreams is about. It's about making your own life movies and stepping into them and living them by learning to practice imagination.
Let's talk more. This is brilliant. I don't know if we'll have time, but I'm curious because what's going on in my head is the experiences you had when you were little, being in other worlds, and then what you were saying about these producers. And I'm curious, this might get all existential and out there, but I love it. I would curious what your feeling or experience is around who's really supporting us in addition to the idea of God, goddess, source, universe. Do you feel like you're able to tap into the realm of the archangels or, the Sirius star system? Or, and do we even need to know that? But I'm curious because you've traveled to so many worlds.
Well, it's good. It's good to know who we're dealing with, and it's good to run, a source check and a fact check and make sure that these people are for real and not the deceiving characters. I just led an online class called Dreaming with Gabrielle, for example. I have a personal relationship with Gabrielle, my Gabrielle. Yes, there you go. See, we are blessed.
I pulled that today without
the blue light is shining. I had an experience on a farm road. I moved to a farm in upstate New York because a red-tailed hawk spoke to me when I was sitting under an old white oak tree. I'll leave that on one side. But then in 1988, in bright sunlight, I'm walking with my dogs on the farm road, and I have a vision of a being of white light. Solidified white light, being of such feminine beauty that I thought as female rather than male. This is not an isolated impression. And I fell to my knees and started weeping. I'd sort of stepped away from Judeo-Christian tradition completely, really. But I met Gabrielle, and I knew I was in the presence of Gabrielle. I had to write a poem for Gabrielle. And since then, Gabrielle, in a sort of non-orthodox way, has appeared again and again to me in my groups. And it's very appropriate because, as you know, Gabrielle, for all three peoples of the book, the Jews, Christians, and Muslims, is the angel of dreams and annunciation, the angel who announces things. Gabrielle is also the patron of astral travel and dream travel. There's a most beautiful poem by Rumi, my favorite writing about Mary and Gabrielle. It's about the annunciation to Mary, where the angel turns up in Mary's presence. She's so terrified by this being of splendor and vastness. She thinks she's about to be insulted, so she leaves her body. She's so frightened. And Gabrielle, in Rumi's vision, that says to Mary, "You flee from me, from the seen to the unseen, where I am king and master. What are you thinking of?" She's left the physical plane for the astral plane, where Gabrielle is the master. What are you thinking of? So I very much believe in Gabrielle, and I believe whether we call them angels or daimons or tutelary spirits or genius or whatever, I all think we have guides of some kind or other. I think we're in real trouble if we don't. We're in real trouble if we disgust them and offend them and send them away. I also think with the panoply of intelligence and spirits that we have access to, I also personally, for me, think that our fundamental life teacher is no stranger at all. It is the higher self. It's the greater self on a higher level. It might dress up in some religious garb, depending on our ability to perceive and receive. One of the Gnostic Gospels, the Gospel of Thomas, it is said, "I saw him in the way that I was able to perceive him," speaking of the Savior or the angel or the Lord Jesus or whatever. I saw him in the way that I was able to perceive him. I think it's like that. I think there's a cosmic costume department for our spiritual guides, for intelligences that want to get us on the right track. So they dress up in different outfits, in hopes of getting our attention in ways that, will sustain our understanding and meet our limited perception. There's an old story in Greek folklore that the mother of dreams is also the mother of animals. And if she wants to send a dream message to you, she'll sew it inside the fur of an animal or the scales of a fish or the feathers of a bird and send it to you. And if that doesn't work, she'll take it out and sew it in a different costume and try again. I think it's a bit like that. I mean, I think that dreaming and consciousness is not just about getting access to the bargain basement of the personal subconscious.
Right.
It's about tapping into a much vaster ocean of intelligence, maybe the whole quantum information field, maybe it's like that. So I'm very interested when I listen to dreams and other perceptions from people in asking myself and asking them the question, wait a minute, does this image that you have, whether it's a dream or something else, is this actually a private doorway to the vast field of knowledge, the Akashic records, the quantum information field? Can you use it to go to a magic library, a total library? All knowledge is available. Can you use it to go to a place where a master teacher will speak to you? Let's give it a shot. And then I'll give them an exercise. I'll give them a little script. I'll give them some architecture to use. So Growing Big Dreams is also full of that kind of thing, roadmaps, itineraries, architecture, to have experiences in true realms of imagination where shamans, mystics, and creators have always wanted to go.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
There you go. I wish we had 20 hours. I'm managing myself. There's questions, but
that's more than I can usually manage, Julie.
I'm just like, all right, back to my body and my heart. It's so amazing to talk to you. Okay, so where I want to focus, the one thing I do want to say, and it's funny, it was like, oh, that just a little light bulb, the name of this show is the Youest You. And for a long time, how do you get in touch with that? What is that? How do we connect? And you said it, and I've been feeling this. It is your higher self.
Yeah.
And it's connecting with that. And it's your greatest teacher. So connecting now to, you talked about creating the dreaming for your future self, creating the person that you want to live into, as you say, creating that roadmap. So I'm thinking, okay, some of the dreams I have in the nighttime, I would not want to repeat. Some of them have felt very off and some have been amazing, and some I'm like, what the heck is going on? But I think what we're talking about now, which we probably could study and look at for all of us, but what I'm hearing you say is really how do we dream into our best future self in this time? I would love to hear about, how do we do that?
Well, I offer a lot of little simple scripts for making journeys in the imagination in the possible future, to see what in your deepest self you actually want to manifest. We see all sorts of new age and self-help and new thought approaches about accomplishing this or that. And I think it's essential for people to find out what in the depths of themselves they truly want in life and go to a deeper place and not just do it for the gimme or ego. It's important to bring the body along. Your body needs to assent to what it is that you would like to manifest. Your higher self, your guardian spirits need to assent as well. Actually, the kahunas of Hawaii teach, you want to bring something into manifestation that is worthwhile, you better get beyond the ego, the ordinary self. You better get the body to believe it. You better get your higher self, your amakua, your high ancestral self, to come in and sign off on the deal as well. So, for example, one of the chapters in my book is called Wayfinding or Waymaking, which is the old Polynesian method of navigation. It's how people got across thousands of miles of uncharted oceans without compasses or instruments. Yeah. In the old days, it's how people came from Tahiti to settle Hawaii. Now, what it involves is, you obviously notice the natural conditions around you. If you're a navigator, it's wind and wave and fish and birds. But you grow a vision in your mind of your destination, and you grow it from a deep place. You grow a vision in your mind of where you want to get to. It doesn't have to have every factual detail, but it needs to be a sense of what really matters to you coming from your heart center. You grow that vision, and then you grow it rich and strong. You taste it, touch it, feel it, sense it, inhabit it with all of your senses. And then when you come back, you find some kind of talisman, some kind of object that will hold the vision of possibility in your mind, in your senses, so you don't get lost. And then you confront the steps or the challenges that stand between you and this path of manifestation. So speaking very quickly, I teach people how to get across the uncharted oceans of life to the island of your heart's desires. And at the end of the day, it all comes from you. I'm not telling you what you should wish to accomplish. I'm asking you to go to as deep a place as you can and draw upon every possible source that you can. to find out what your heart's desires truly look like, and then find a practical method of manifestation. Because I'm a practical fellow. If I'm a mystic, I'm a practical mystic. I want results.
Yeah.
I teach in the pre-pandemic era. I was teaching all over the place in places where life was really tough. For example, I teach a lot normally in the Czech Republic. Between the Germans and the Russians, the history of the Czech Republic is a nightmare history of Western history. So when I go to the Czech Republic and I teach maybe 65 Czechs in a crowded room in the old town, they want results. They want takeaways. They're going to put food on the table, keep the relationship together, or grow a better relationship. So I know that I have to deliver, and I want this to work for people on every level. So for me, Julie, it's about survival and it's about soul. It's about both things. I don't think we can survive in a worthwhile way without being in touch with what on the soul level we are, what our soul family is, what our soul purpose is. And you referred briefly to the sense of a divine choice or a sacred contract before we came here. I think this is very useful personal mythology. I don't mean mythology in the throwaway sense. For me, I'm absolutely certain that I personally agreed to certain assignments before I came into the body. For me, this is true. I don't know if it's true for someone else. I don't know. There might be a spectrum of choice. Not everybody might have as much choice as others. That's in the traditions of mythology. But for me, it makes perfect sense, practical sense, to accept the idea that I came here on assignment, and that my success in a real sense, my success in terms of my satisfaction with myself and my ability to live happily in the world, depends upon remembering that assignment and honoring. That is central to my sense of being in the world in a human form. So that might be very useful for you. I mean, if you're thinking about these things, to actually grow the idea that you actually did, contrary to appearances, maybe, contrary to how you might feel on a certain day or in a certain year, you might actually have come here on some kind of a personal mission, maybe involving other people who are part of your family. Maybe it relates to your relationship with other people in other times and other places. You know, the new book, Growing Big Dreams, like my life practice and teaching, goes off in all sorts of interesting directions. I'm very interested in the many worlds hypothesis, which says that right now we're living in one of many parallel universes. Yeah. So there's Julie and a Robert who are not doing this show, and maybe there's a Julie who never did this, and Robert never wrote books, and blah, blah, blah. Well, what's the interest in that? Well, it's interesting in itself, but suppose, just as an example, suppose, as you're listening and following this, suppose there is a you who succeeded in some way in something you're not doing right now, became an artist, became a mother, became a dancer, whatever, who has gifts and connections you don't have right now. Suppose you could reach to her life and maybe make a deal with her and do some good for each other and bring part of what she has accomplished into your present life. Wouldn't that be interesting? Wouldn't that make you more? Wouldn't that make you more of what you can be? So this is the kind of thing that I love exploring. And we explore it experientially. I mean, I love giving lectures and talking, but I also give people exercises so they can explore these things as far as their courage and their imagination will allow them to do.
Oh, so beautiful. So this is one of the most amazing, delicious, and I would say only challenging, because I'm holding back. Again, every time you speak, there's like 50 questions, but it's okay. I'm going to go with what's coming to me, which is so some of those exercises in really growing your big dream. I love this idea of almost what I'm hearing, tapping into an aspect of me on a different plane or different life that I sometimes think about, that who had the experience doing what I want to do and harvesting that. Do you have exercises, Robert, that you can share with us? Kind of the how-to steps with these really, you talked about getting your body to believe it, getting your higher self on board. Where do we start? Is there like a get still, ask these questions? Like where do we begin?
I think there's a song about this, isn't there? I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree. I think if you want a starting place, you want to find a tree. You want to find a tree. What do I mean? You want to find a tree. If you know the tree in nature, great. If you can be with the tree in nature, wonderful. If you can't, maybe in your memory, maybe in your imagination, you can find a tree. And then you do this. Should we do a short meditation? Would you like to do?
Yeah.
Take people to that place? Okay, so let's imagine that we are setting this up for you right now. So I want you to pull up in your memory, in your mind, from wherever it comes, the image of a tree that you like, a tree that you know, a tree that knows you. It could be anywhere in the world. It could be in your backyard if you're lucky. It could be in the park. It could be another country, a tree. I want you for a moment to feel how the tree is rooted in the earth. And I want you to feel yourself reaching down through the soles of your feet into the earth, going deep and spreading wide, feeling the warmth and moisture of earth. And as you breathe in, I want you to feel the energy of earth rising up into your body, rising up to all of your energy centers, rising up to the crown of you, rising above you, streaming down like a soft mist, like a soft rain returning to its source. So you're close to the tree, you're standing like the tree, maybe you're feeling very close to the tree in the place where the tree stands. You're rooted in earth, you're centered, you're grounded. Now you're reaching for the light because trees feed on light and you're hungry for light. And now you feel yourself reaching for light above you. As you breathe in now, you're letting the light stream in down through your canopy, down through your crown, rolling down through every fiber and particle of you, washing you clean. The light is streaming through you. And at the same time, the earth energy is rising. They meet inside you. You feel strong and protected and blessed. Now your full attention is with the tree that gave you this form, gave you this pattern, rooted in the earth, drinking the light. And your tree now is getting your full attention. You see how the roots of this tree go into the earth. You see how the trunk rises between earth and sky. And you can imagine this. You could come here simply for rest and relaxation, to ground and regenerate yourself and connect with the light. Or this could become your portal between the worlds. You could come to this tree in hopes of meeting an ally, maybe an animal or bird that is connected to you. You could imagine yourself traveling down through the roots of the tree into the realm of the animal spirits and connecting or reconnecting with the fox or the bear or the wolf or the deer, whatever animal is connected to you. You could imagine yourself up in the high branches of your tree looking out in any direction. You could imagine you have a bird with you who could lend you its vision and its power of flight. You could imagine that up from the high branches, if you perch there like a bird, you can see across time as well as space. You can see into the possible future. You can see over your life track before you came here. And before that, you can look at your parallel lives. Or you could rise to the tippy top of the tree and rise above it and enter an upper world where a spiritual teacher adjusted to your present life is waiting for you. So, if you like the tree, all you have to do is deepen the meditation. I suggest you do it with your feet flat on the ground, whether you're sitting or standing, so you can really project that sense of reaching down into the earth. And as you breathe in, you're going to feel the earth energy rising, so you're grounded and stable. You're going to remember you can pull down the light, and you're going to remember that any tree can be the one tree, the axis mundi, the ladder between the worlds. So that might be where you begin, right?
Beautiful. I just got totally transported. That was so cool. There was a tree in my backyard growing up. It's a feminine tree with pink flowers, and I used to a lot of dreams and creating worlds there. And I'm like, oh, she's there with me. Thank you.
That's fabulous. That makes me happy. I remember a girl who did this when I was teaching in New York City years ago, remembered a tree in Brooklyn that had gone. It had gone. The tree no longer existed physically. I said, the tree still exists in your imagination, in your memory, in your heart. So you can use it. She used the tree. It is no longer standing on the street, and it worked just as well.
I love that. It's funny, I'm going to go back and listen to this episode myself because I want to hear you again. And already just, and would love to hear from those listening what you got from that experience. I can tell you I felt very magical when I was younger, and it had this remembrance. It was just very cool. I'm going to do that again because I could feel there were animals and something wanting to speak with me more. And that was really powerful. It's beautiful.
Excellent.
Wow. All right. Well, everyone must get this book. I'm certainly going to. The Growing Big Dreams, Manifesting Your Heart's Desires Through 12 Secrets of Imagination. And what I love about this, without you, maybe you did know at a deeper level, but it's so needed right now. I guess to wrap up, I don't really want to wrap up, to be very honest with you. I want to keep talking to you. How much longer can I just...
when people say to me, what's the best thing you can say to an author? I say, more.
Yeah, it's true.
You're just doing that. It's glorious. It's delightful.
I don't want you to stop talking. I guess my two questions would be, it's hard to reel them in. One would be, what's the dream that you've had or you're having or you are envisioning for the collective of humanity. I know I got to meet Barbara Marx Hubbard years ago and remember her prophecy and really just beautiful spirit and what she was out to create. And I know many other luminaries like her, and I see you in that category. What do you dream of for the collective in our future? And
well, I dream of the rebirth of a dreaming society, and I think you understand when I use the word dreaming, I'm talking about more than anything we've
yeah,
talked about so far. I'm talking about even more than that. I'm talking about dreaming with the earth. I'm talking about dreaming consciously with all animate life on the planet. I'm talking about dreaming with other sentient beings who support life on the planet. I'm
yeah,
talking about dreaming with intelligences beyond the human range, who are sympathetic to our efforts and would like to see us come through. I'm talking about dreaming with each other beyond hatred and prejudice and all the rest of it, the ability to put ourselves in each other's shoes. I'm talking also about a practice of dreaming in every home and every school and every clinic and every community center where we actually pay attention to people's dreams in both senses, dreams of the night and dreams of life, and try to help each other do better. So this is what I've devoted my life to. The rebirth of a dreaming society. And I think that in some ways, all the appalling stuff we're going through is making people more receptive to this and more aware that this is essential, not just some, occasional activity. This is essential to our ability to ground and reroute ourselves in a form of consciousness that might get us beyond the dark times that we are in. So that is my vision of what I want to do. And I want to just offer you the last two chapter titles from the new book, just for fun, because they're so cool. But the second last chapter title is You Don't Have to Drive Used Karma. You don't have to drive used karma. See the joke? It's about stepping out of your old stories, your family histories, your impression of what might have gone on in past lives, and understanding your moment of power and opportunity is now. And if you operate consciously from that moment, you can correct, revision, reshape everything else. You don't have to drive used karma. The last one is so simple, but it's so true, and it's so vitally necessary today. The stronger the imagination, the less imaginary the results. The stronger the imagination, the less imaginary the results. Because in the imagination, we create things. As a matter of fact, nothing that is created actually happens without an image, without an idea, without something coming from a deeper plane. So this is an appeal. It's an appeal with the practical tools and techniques to claim your power of imagination, to revision your life and to contribute to growing a brighter vision for all of us.
Mm. Love, love, love. I'm so glad you shared that. You don't have to drive used karma is awesome and hilarious. And I'm like obsessed. I'm going to write this out somewhere. The stronger the imagination, the less imaginary the results. Brilliant. Brilliant. One last question that popped in, and I can't help it, but I got to ask you. When you talk about, I think it's probably very simple, but I want to make sure people know this, bringing in ascended masters, sentient beings, beautiful light spirits that are here to help us. Is it as simple, Robert, as just asking? Is there something to know that we need to do? Because I'm thinking, I just say, hey, you are always welcome at any time. Even if I forget to ask you, please come and help me. Please come in. But is there something we can say, or how does that work?
Well, there's an element of, I'm very practical about these, an element of practice which so many people are missing out. There is a special zone of consciousness where these contacts are easier. They are simply easier. And that is what sleep researchers call the hypnagogic zone. You're between sleep and awake. You're not awake, you're not asleep. You're drifting, you're in that twilight zone. Tinkerbell talked about in the Disney movie, Peter Pan is sad because his fairy friend is going away. And Tinkerbell says, that place between sleep and awake where you remember dreaming? That's where I'll always love you. That's where I'll wait for you. This is very practical guidance. One of the things I teach people to do, it seems so obvious to me, but you won't find in most of the literature of consciousness or dreaming or shamanism or anything else, is, hey, give yourself permission to laze around, to loll around in horizontal meditation when you're not asleep, you're not awake, and see what comes up. Mm-hmm. This is the rush hour for spiritual communication. It truly is. And you'll find psychics and spiritual intuitives who will tell you the same thing, and it's there in the literature. It's also a time of creative breakthrough, including in science and technology. People get ideas. It is the zone in which I personally have had the most important spiritual conversations of my life again and again and again. And who is speaking, or sometimes the speaker for a lineage, for mystery order, for example, that I seem to be connected with, across time and place. Sometimes it's a representative of another cultural tradition. Sometimes it feels like the angel or the goddess. Sometimes it feels like that deep voice of the greatest self that you don't have to name, because you don't have to name it. So there's a variety, and sometimes it's, Uncle Fred. I don't have an Uncle Fred, but sometimes it's a departed family member or somebody like, or another dreamer who's dropping in. But, so this is very practical information. It's amazing how many people will sort of wake up to it when they hear it, but didn't quite realize it was available until someone says it to them. You have this zone, this privileged zone of consciousness. Mm. All you have to do is make it your game from time to time, approaching sleep or between sleep, 2 cycles of sleep, or after waking in the morning. Give yourself permission to drift and be available in that state. You can ask for a contact if you like, you can ask for something, but it's amazing what will simply come to you, drawn by affinity, drawn, in other words, by where your intention, where your focus is right now. You don't necessarily have to put it into words. What will respond to you will respond to the desires, the memory, the study, the work, the activities you're engaged in. It will come to you because this is who you are. Your own will come to you, said an Irish mystic. Your own will come to you.
Oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful words. Is there, again, I'm giving you the mic one more time because this is the hardest interview to end. I'm like, please stop, just keep talking. Is there anything else intuitively you feel like we may have not covered that is just, I call them heart flares, it's just right there and you'd like to share with our beautiful listeners?
Well, I think it came with that last phrase. It came from A.E. He called himself A.E. His name was George Russell. He's a friend of William Butler Yeats. He was a poet and painter and mystic of Ireland. He said, your own will come to you. He believed in what he called spiritual gravitation. Mm. And he believed that people are drawn to each other, including intelligences from beyond this world, of master teachers and the wise departed. They're drawn to us in our times, in our places, but they're drawn by affinity. They're drawn by a sense of connection, of support, of supportive wish towards what we're doing, towards what our work and study and love and passion is leading us to. So I'll say it again, your own will come to you.
Beautifully said. Wow. I'm usually not at a loss of words, and I can only say that my heart honors, I feel like the namaste, but it's like my heart and honor sees the light and your just magnificent heart and your work. This has been so profound. I know for me, for anybody that gets to listen to this, and just so grateful that you said yes to this divine contract and said yes to this interview. To have you here, it's been such a joy. You're just radiant, in whatever years you've done on the planet, you radiate like a lot of youthful energy. And I have no doubt that's being in a lot of dream state and doing the work you do.
Well, thank you, Jill. It's an absolute delight. May your best dreams come true.
Thank you.